समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.
This sequel to last week's national interest under the same headline, How Pakistan Thinks, is triggered by the one line I had added as a very belated afterthought, almost as the column was going into print last week. Take it from me, I wrote then, Pakistan will sign some equivalent of the Abraham Accords and recognize Israel much before it makes peace with India. The news cycle has moved on dramatically within days. Pakistan seems closer to that denouement than anybody would have imagined on 26th of September, Friday, when I wrote that first part of How Pakistan Thinks. Almost playing to a script, Donald Trump announced his 20-point resolution for Gaza in the presence of Benjamin Netanyahu and hinted that even the larger Palestinian question could be rolled into it. Within hours, never mind the time zones, Pakistan was the first Islamic country to rise in the fullest support. Check out this long tweet from Shehbaz Sharif. His language is breathless in praise and obsequious as you would expect from a minor feudal, a chotu feudal, addressing the big Badshah. That the fawning pleased the Badshah is evident in how he acknowledged it in public, that Pakistan has supported my plan. Even calling the Field Marshal's words, hailing him as a man of peace, hailing Trump as a man of peace, most beautiful. Even India waited a full day before expressing support, probably to figure out if friend Netanyahu was fully on board with this. Of course, he was there and he was pleased with this plan. By this time, the Pakistanis had also done a closer reading and grown some buyer's remorse, whispering that words had been changed from what they had been shown. Later, Pakistani Foreign Minister and also Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar said that this is not what they had accepted, but you know what? They had shown their hand already. Also, they haven't yet pulled back from the plan, and in any case, this minor confusion does not indicate how, in our understanding, Pakistan thinks. That is our theme for this week. This, in fact, goes into the very heart of what kind of state Pakistan is. Is it indeed as Islamic as its constitution or the textbook ideology of the Republic promises? If that were the case, how come the Pakistanis have never gone to fight for any Islamic cause? Across their western periphery, multiple Islamic states have faced threats and in some cases, obliteration. Iraq multiple times, for example. Pakistan talks endlessly of the Ummah, invoking it to suit its convenience in OIC routinely on Kashmir, for example, but it is willing to do very little for it, very little for the Ummah. It isn't as if its armies have never gone to fight in fellow Islamic countries, all to its west. It is just that to describe any of these as contributions or sacrifices towards an Islamic cause is fallacious. In Jordan 1970, for Palestinian revolt, Pakistanis went to fight under Ziaul Haq, then a brigadier, and Saudi Arabia 1975, during the siege of Mecca, it was on both occasions to protect the ruling families or to protect the dictatorial regimes. Even today, the Saudis need Pakistani protection not against Iran or Israel, but against Muslim Brotherhood or any protest or any challenge that may rise from the Muslim street. If you turn around and remind me that the Pakistanis sent some contingents to Jordan, Syria during the Yom Kippur War, especially its air force, I will remind you that the two countries Pakistan and Jordan, had a deeper and long-standing military partnership rooted in Western alliances. It was also reciprocal as Jordan had transferred 10 F-104 starfighters to beef up the Pakistan Air Force fleet in the 1971 war. Details, even entries in the Royal Jordanian Air Force squadron diaries, have been published in Fizaya, Psyche of Pakistan Air Force by Pushpinder Singh, Ravi Rikhe and Peter Steinemann. During the Gulf War, the Pakistanis sent contingents not to defend Muslim Iraq, but to protect the Saudis from Saddam's Muslim armies after they had occupied Kuwait. So Pakistanis had gone to protect Saudi Arabia from Saddam's armies. They were never fighting for any ideological cause, but for their favored client, in this case Saudi Arabia, or you might prefer to describe them as patrons. Afghanistan helps us understand this better. In the first Afghan Jihad, say from 1979 to 93, Pakistan was in the coalition against the pro-Soviet regime, and they could argue that the Mujahideen's cause was Islamic enough, and also that Najibullah's government or the pro-Soviet government was more communist or more leftist in its orientation. That much you have to grant. Then what happened when the Americans returned after 9/11 in 2001? Now the Pakistanis joined them again, but this time against the Taliban. Now, who could be more Islamic than the Taliban? Pakistanis, however, were fighting or alongside the Americans or helping the Americans fight the Taliban. There are words spoken, recorded and archived which come back to haunt all sides. These also help establish our argument for this week. Secretary of Defense in the Bush administration, Robert Gates, for example, described Pakistan as and I quote, as a stalwart ally against terror. And this, by the way, was said in the wake of 26/11. So reassuring it must have been for New Delhi, isn't it? The upshot is that the Pakistani military and strategic capital has always been available for rent in cash, kind, which is for the Middle East and Arabs, or strategic and economic benefit, as with the Americans. Not only did Pakistan collect billions of dollars in rent as military and civil aid, fighting on opposite sides of the Islamist Mujahideen or Taliban in the two American wars in Afghanistan, they similarly collected from the rich Arab states as well. Just for a touch of irony, I need to underline to you the names of the schemes under which the US sought to transfer F-16s to Pakistan. Peacegate 1, Peace. Peacegate 1, 1983. Peacegate 2, 1986-7. Peacegate 3, December 1988. So every time they give a bunch of F-16s to Pakistan, they call it Peacegate. Peacegate 4, September 1989, they got into some trouble subsequently because now the US government was not willing or not able to give Pakistan a certification that they were not nuclearizing or they had not nuclearized. Then 2005-06, another scheme, Peace Drive, F-16s under Peace Drive. And finally, 16 second-hand Jordanian F-16s under a scheme called Peace Falcon 1. Peace each time, isn't it? Funny you might find it, or ironical, you can take your pick. The short point is that Pakistan has been a rentier army available to a generous bidder, Muslim or Christian. You've never seen it coming to the aid of Iran or its proxies like Houthis as they are pulverized by Israel and its American allies. Besides the Gulf Arabs who occasionally fight directly as in Yemen, but mostly act as silent partners in anti-Iran coalitions. Every Israeli plane that goes and bombs Iran has to go over some Arab territory. Otherwise, it cannot fly. It cannot fly to Iran. It has never come to the aid. Pakistan has never come to the aid of any Muslims, including Palestinians or the Gazans now, except making noises. And now this endorsement at hypersonic speed of a plan that pleases Netanyahu and reduces Gaza to a gated colony under Western management with Tony Blair as a kind of viceroy or governor general or maybe just a lieutenant governor given how small it is, and buries the very idea of a two-state solution. Muhammad Ali Jinnah had, in fact, given Pakistan its Palestine policy. He would have balked even at a two-state solution. He wanted Palestine restored to its original territories and no Israel. And Israel, if at all, could be accommodated in Europe, not here. These were Palestinian territories according to him. The only country a Pakistani passport bars its citizens from traveling to is Israel. I cannot help but tell you an enduring Pakistani lore I might have shared with you before. In 1947-48, with the Palestine, Jerusalem or Al-Quds fervor on, writer Sadat Hasan Manto, who migrated from India to Pakistan, he would pass by processions shouting angry slogans in Lahore every day. One day he stopped to ask, Bhai, roz aap kahan ja rahe ho? Brothers, where do you keep going every day? Told that they were going to liberate Philistine and Al-Quds, he said, ठीक है, देखिए रीगल चौक से होकर निकल जाइएगा, नजदीक पड़ेगा. Good idea. Best that you take a shortcut through Regal Square or Regal Chowk or Regal Square, which is a Lahore landmark. Now, what Manto underlined with his trenchant wit is the reality even today. Pakistani support to the Palestinian cause and the larger Muslim sentiment on Jerusalem has merely been tamasha and a cosplay version of farcical strategic posturing. Pakistan's, in conclusion, is not an Islamic army, and since the army owns the state, it follows that Pakistan isn't an Islamic state either. What is Pakistan then if it's not an Islamic state? If we read backwards to all that we have listed here, the net outcome would be that the ideological foundation of Pakistan is not Islam or Islamism, it is anti-Indianism, read anti-Hindu. It will make any compromises, rent services to any patron, dump Iran yesterday, today and tomorrow, Palestinians in eternity, and kill fellow Muslims as long as it brings it wherewithal, cash and strategic support, which means overall wherewithal to weaken India and challenge it. Pakistan's occasionally elected leaders understand this. In short, they know that as long as anti-Indianism, which we also read as anti-Hinduism, defines Pakistan's nationalism, the army will never cede power to them, whatever their majority. That's why two of them, Nawaz Sharif multiple times and Benazir Bhutto, searched for lasting peace and were punished severely. Even Musharraf was not spared for peacemaking despite being the army chief. All of these leaders seeking lasting peace with India were seen by the army and ultimately by indoctrinated popular opinion as going against the ideology of Pakistan. At which point I can rest my case on part 2 of how Pakistan thinks.